Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Avowed, and to our ongoing playthrough on Path of the Damned difficulty. Without a HUD. Or with minimal HUD elements, I should say. Kaya's Journal. Or Kaya's Journal. 28-21, Season of Nesting Birds. After 27 hours of difficult labor, I am the mother of a coral pink squall of a girl. I will call her Mata. Mata. After my mother's sister, who was carried away from us on Amira's wings last season. May she have something of her spirit, as well as her name. 28-23, Season of Sun Showers. Anaru presented Mata with the fishing pole, the harpoon, and the basket this morning. How anxious I was that she should choose the harpoon and spend the hot seasons away at sea, or the fishing pole, and be fettered away always to the town. Or the basket, and spend her life climbing trees. But sweet Mata turned her back on all of them, and crawled into her father's lap. She will be as her father is, then, a healer, and stay always near to me. 28-26, Season of Ripening Koiki. Last night, Mata told her first story. It was a tale of a mighty war parrot who fought fearlessly in many battles against the terrible Naga. But though he was a great warrior, he'd always wanted to explore the islands, so when his mother wasn't looking, he flew to the top of Serpent's Crown in Neketaka. He saw all the way to Hasongo. The sky went on forever. But he became scared of the heights and called for help, and his mother, the queen of the war parrots, came to rescue him. From then on, he was happy to remain a warrior. Great Aunt Mata once told me a similar tale when I was a foolish young girl, determined to climb the tallest Koiki tree in the village. Perhaps there is something of my old aunt's soul in my daughter after all. 28-28. Season of Churning Waves. A dread storm cloud sits heavy on the horizon, and small tremors shake the sand, but my girl is not disturbed. Tonight she leads the children in a performance in Ngati's Kraken dance, as taught to us by the young women from Maje Island. We made her bracelets and anklets from shells we collected on the beach together, and she wove her skirt herself. As we near the season of her birth, I remember how when I first quickened I told Anaru I was afraid. It is strange to look upon this tiny mind now and think I may have never known her. How strange this life of mine. How generous the gods.
If you traveled weeks to see him, you can wait a few more days.
Kara, you would not be so glib if your family's souls were crying out to you for justice.
Some crusty old priest isn't going to change that. The Temple of Aethys is closed. Ugh, I don't know why everyone in the Living Land suddenly wants to see the old kook in there, but it's not happening. Not today, anyway. Probably not tomorrow, either. Not with the way they're dawdling.
Since when do you make the rules?
Since I arrived with the big sword.
So you say I need a bigger sword. The Oracle has one. Let me in and I will borrow it.
I'm saying you need to go home because the goddamn temple is closed.
I'm here at Offric's request. You've got an expedition in trouble?
The boy made it back to the embassy. I half expected him to kick off on the way there.
He was badly injured and grieving his brother's wounds. I say it is good news.
Sure, until the Inquisitor hears he abandoned his men to go crying for his mum.
You will let me through now.
Right, of course, absolutely. The expedition team entered through the cave just past here. They were carrying a lot of tools and weapons with them, so be on your guard. And Envoy, thanks. I know Offreak will appreciate you looking into this.
We nod solemnly and leave.
Guess we're on the right track. Didn't even have time to finish the puzzle. Whatever they were looking for, it wasn't just treasure.
That's it. The door's open.
Right behind you.
Look alive. It's here.
Someone tells me those weren't the last walking skeletons we'll be fighting.
That's one for us.
The Book of Verses. Idnung the Bright Star spoke, and her voice was like a clarion cry, calling his soul forth. He knew her for the right hand of the shining god, and was afraid. "O wanderer, hear me," she spoke. "You are known to us, and your deeds put you far from salvation." And he wept, for he knew that his sins lay bare before this great illumination. Then Sargamas spoke, and his voice swept forth with the heat and force of the bright day sun. "Weep not, for the child of light has forgiveness even for you, if you will embrace him." Heimke knelt before them then, resolved to save himself, and asked what he must do. And Modigan spoke. Her voice was like the songbird's final hymn, bidding farewell to the day's light. "What darkness lies within you, you must cast into his light. Your sins will be burned from you until you are newly formed, reborn into his keeping." So spoke Modigan, but Eadnung warned him, saying, "You have walked all these years into darkness, and must now return. You will find the path like treading fire, and at every step you will be tempted to turn away, but no harm will come to you if you keep your faith."
Gods, never seen anything like it.
Views like this remind me why I came to the Living Lands in the first place.
Something stirs here.
tripwire's broken. I bet Offric's people came through here.
Look at that. That statue. How did anyone build that all the way down here?
Gods. No one knew that was down here.
Rituals. Whispers of searing light.
Zarbs ahead. Suggest going around them. We can fight if you're feeling itchy.
Lights are on my side.
Did not see you.
That's all of them.
Little fucker. Let's eat something. Let's see. Daily affirmations of focus and efficiency. 1. All errors can be reforged into lessons. Abaddon rebuilt himself from ruin. No setback is insurmountable, not even death itself, so long as the soul is dedicated to the task. 2. Work hard, work well. Abaddon demands only honest labor and forthright service. All errors can be reforged if your first intentions are pure. 3. All ignorance can be reforged into knowledge. Master your craft, excel at what you have been trusted to do. Do not offend your teacher by remaining a student forever. 4. Each generation must forge its successors. Teach your trade to all who are willing to learn, and in doing so multiply the fruits of your knowledge. 5. All difficulties can be reforged into triumphs. Meet strife with humility and acceptance. Let adversity temper the ingot of your will, and you will never shatter. 6. Embrace your station. Fulfill the duties of your rank and meddle not in the affairs of your betters. All guilds fail at their weakest link. 7. All loss can be reforged into strength. Profitable work heals all emptiness. So long as you have the tools of your trade, you will always be able to forge wealth anew. 8. Value the works of others, and they will value your works in return. Share the harvest with the hungry and your tools with the destitute. 9. All souls can be reforged into whatever we will. Hard work is not exclusive to life. Death is no time for complacency. Commit yourself to excellence in this cycle and the next.
Hold it together, kid. We're nearly there.
You're not my brother. I got to be dreaming. Oh gods, am I dead? Is this the Beyond Spirit? Have you come to take me to Galloway's side?
The kid's in bad shape, but he's not too far gone. I think we can help him.
I'm not ready. I've never even touched a girl. It's not fair. Oh, that's the creepiest sensation I ever felt in my life. Like vines were growing all through me.
If it works, don't question it. And look, your wounds are closing up already.
Oh, wow. I feel leagues better. I thought for sure you were coming to take me back to the wheel. Who are you? What you doing down here?
Offred sent us after you. Where's the rest of your team?
He actually made it? I wasn't sure he'd come through. And he sent the Emperor's fucking envoy. Damn. Am I ever glad to meet you?
Focus. The Free Expeditions Corps. Where are they?
Right. Those assholes. They went on without me after I got hurt. We'll come back for you once we've got the relic, Admin. Honest. Oh, shit. Yeda was probably hoping I'd croak so she wouldn't have to tell our freak how she abandoned me. All she cares about is that Oracle and his relic, which is probably just a big old dog bone if you ask me. It's probably still down there, fiddling with the statue. You must have seen it on your way in.
Tell me about Gieda.
Our captain, she's... I don't know. I don't want to talk out of turn.
Relax. You're not the first person to have a bad commander.
It's not like that. I mean, it didn't used to be. Yeda's not been quite herself lately. I've always known her to be cautious, careful. Now she charges forward recklessly. And she pushes us as hard as she pushes herself. And that's how I got hurt.
Has she been short-tempered? Distracted?
Yeah. When we make camp, she has these terrible dreams. Wakes us all up with her screaming and muttering.
Can't be sure, but it sounds like the dream scourge to me, Envoy.
Anything I need to know about the Oracle?
I doubt I know much more than you do. I mean, you're godlike, just like him.
Come on, kid. Don't get starstruck now.
Well, he's touched by Aethys, right? And he's supposed to be old, like hundreds of years old. And I don't mean elf old, he's extra old, like Aethys has been keeping him alive or something.
Great. He's old. Anything else?
He used to receive pilgrims, but only the ones who could make it to him. This place, it's like a trial.
Yeah, we've seen the same traps and crumbling buildings you have.
And he's building something. A statue of Aethys, I think. But I don't know what for. I mean, after all Aethys did in the Deadfire, people don't come here anymore.
I need to get moving.
Right, yeah. You got those assholes to save and everything. I hope they're better off than I was.
Seems like a good kid. Glad we could give him a hand. Maybe one of Juliana's girls will too.
He's gonna have a hard time getting out of here, but at least we gave him a fighting chance.
So, the kid said the expedition team went deeper, looking for the Oracle.
I imagine the Oracle has something to do with that creepy statue we saw before. Maybe we should take a look.
History of the Living Lands 1. Origin. The Living Lands do not exist, but certainly there is an island. Certainly there are valleys. There are rivers, lakes, and mountains. There are trees and fungi in abundance. Taken together, do these not constitute the Living Lands? I will concede that they constitute the description of a continent, that this continent lies north of the equator, and that this continent is equidistant from Eder and Rauatai. I will concede that this continent is real, so long as you and I walk upon it. We call this island the Living Lands, but The living lands is merely a descriptor of its attributes. A list of attributes does not alone make up a place. I believe that for a place to become real, it must have a name. For a name to be real, it must have a history. History confers meaning, and meaning is given to a name by its namer. But the living lands cannot be this island's name, because I have traveled its breadth, climbed its peaks, and delved its countless depths, and I have discovered that the living lands has no namer at all. Unless the words we use to describe this continent, the living lands, were given to us by the godless. Unless these words have a meaning only they could comprehend. Unless these words have a history only they could know. And the haze, and the hazity, the thisness of this place was lost with them. That's a word I've never seen before. Probably did not pronounce that correctly.
Quiet, Nimdut. Another one down.
Come and get me. Take your best shot.
Could have sworn I saw something. Inquisitor's request. Captain Yeda. The relic you seek is but one of the many thorns in the rotten heart of this land. Claim it for Adir. And should its efficacy be confirmed, you will be appropriately rewarded. Inquisitor Ludwin.
If Ludwin's after this relic, we might be on the right track.
I see someone. Be ready for anything.
My brother. Can it be? Come, stand in the light. Let me look at you. It has been too long. I had feared I was the last of us, but you... Oh, the very sight of you is a balm for the soul. I am the Oracle Sargenes, servant of the once shining god, he whose light has lately dimmed. What brings you to this sacred space?
I'm looking for an expedition of my countrymen. Did they pass this way?
An expedition? I'm afraid I don't understand.
Right. Maps, ropes, pitons, rugged boots, water for days, people down here looking for stuff.
I am familiar with the concept, tomb raiding and the like. What troubles me is why they would come here. These ruins are not so different from the many others on this island, except that they are a good deal more treacherous. And this representation of Aethys we stand before, it is the work of my own hands. They could not hope to move it. Do you know what their purpose is here?
Do you really expect me to believe you haven't seen them? There's only one way through this place.
It's a reasonable question, I'll grant you. You must understand, this place has seen so few visitors for so long that Well, I often retreat into my private quarters. To read, you understand, or pray, or sleep. Age has made me slow. I tire easily. I sleep now more hours than I wake. They could have already come and gone, and I would be none the wiser. In any case, you haven't told me what it was they searched for. Or do you not know?
I have no idea.
That is a shame. Without knowing more, I'm afraid I cannot help you. Although, perhaps you might assist me with something.
Right. Here.
You see, this construction beside us is no mere statue, but a reliquary I have built to house the splinter of Aethys in its appropriate grandeur. It is nearly complete, and ready for the splinter to be interred. But I can no longer reach the relic on my own. The path to the relic has fallen to ruin. Some sections are flooded, and others are infested with all manner of creatures. Return it to me, and who knows, perhaps you will meet your expedition along the way.
I'm going to poke around here first.
Take all the time you need. Oh, and please refrain from touching my statue or devices. May light illuminate your path, brother.
Sargamis's journal. 2828. Prestu. He is gone, but he is still with me. What form should a reliquary take that is fit to hold the splinter? Were I in high crown still, I would petition the church for ivory, gems, and gold. For this remnant of his holy body is worth all the wealth of the empire and more. Being as I am sequestered here, I will make do, instead, with the wealth of the land. Granite from the tallest peaks, clay from the fertile riverbeds, and trunks from the most aged trees. I must work without ceasing until it is done. The memory of my lord cannot endure delay. 2028, Tarestu. He is beginning to take shape. I thought at first a sanctuary would be appropriate, a temple within this temple of the godless. But when I prayed over my plans for the building's construction, I received a vision of Aethys' Titan as it had existed in its time. A body of strange flesh and bone, hundreds of feet tall, astride the land with the Pantheon at his side, facing down the forces of chaos like 11 colossal ships of the line. What crisis manifested them and inspired them to act, I know not, but I shall remake him as he was in my own fashion. 2829. Magiverno. He is complete. But the statue I have made is inert, lifeless, dull. The work of my hands does not dignify the splinter. There is something deficient in it, and in me. I must destroy it and begin again. 2829, in prima. He is made anew. His effigy is formed from granite, clay, and wood still, but they shelter now a precious Adra core. It glimmers even in the low light of this cavern's ceaseless evenings. He brings the dawn to this penumbral place, as the light of his attention once brought to my soul. In the Empire they celebrate spring dawn today, or they would have prior to the Saints' War. I wonder what of him remains in the beyond after his dissolution at Okaizo. I long to be with him again. 2829, Prima. What if I did not have to wonder? Reminder, source fresh lumber. Neil only seems able to source rotten lumber. The contemptible stuff cannot withstand the damp of this cavern. I must find someone who can fell and hew fresh trees, or my fragile generators will be at the mercy of the Saurops. The little bastards are remarkably curious. A history of the living lands too, Lacuna. What are we to make of the absence of the Anguithans from the living lands? I think often of the hundreds of years I spent in the Eastern Reach. In all my time there, never once were the ruins of Anguith out of my sight. A trio of their standing stones loomed from the peak of a nearby hill through my bedroom window, and the long shadows of their machines fell every day over my church. The roads we trod were their roads, and the walls that divided up our land were their walls. Their temples became our markets. Our fields were littered with their tools. No mountain nor river nor forest could stop their building, and with their technology they mastered the world. The Anguithans laid the foundation of Eora. We, the living, are merely the skin atop their bones. But they never made it to the living lands. How can that be so? Letter to Sargamas. Sargamas, it has been some time since your last correspondence, and I do hope that you are still well. Have the materials and spare equipment from my lab proven reliable? You know how temperamental and finicky old equipment gets. I swear, these machines have souls of their own. But I digress. I look forward to hearing the latest news about your progress. I have no doubt that the completion of your project will change the world, and knowing you, it will be certainly for the better. That I have had a part to play in this fills me with deep joy and satisfaction. Perhaps one day they shall write about us. I can see it now, the Oracle and the Visionary, a titillating tale of two thinkers and their thoroughly thought-provoking theories. On second thought, perhaps simply the Oracle and the Visionary will suffice. Eagerly awaiting your response. Your friend, Vitor. P.S. It is good that I forgot to send this after it dried. Ulrask would be very cross with me if I did not relay once more that he is, and I quote, rather looking forward to giving Sargamas' oversized animat a proper thrashing if he ever gets it functional. Oh, that Ulrask. Until next time, my friend. A lot of animancy equipment.
The bridge is out, but that looks like the way to the relic. This reminds me of the Strangle route. The But how is anything this big growing all the way down here?
We'll have to swim through the root tunnel to get through here.
Clay tablet. This clay tablet is inscribed with a flowing vertical script in a language you've never seen before. Yulhesisa Yesuha Luyides Ragida Megali Het Sayapai Enwitan Kigid Yul Gapakpupi. Guess as to what it said.
Quiet. Everybody all right?
Waterlogged book. The writing in this tome is dense and spidery, and it advances across the page at a sprint, as if its author's pen had been enchanted with a spell for celerity. Whatever muse ensorcelled it will never be revealed, however, for the book's fragile pages swiftly disintegrate in your hands. True stories from the living lands. Only the hardiest of explorers would dare take the long, dangerous trek to the living lands. While there is no denying its beauty, the diversity of plant life alone is an herbologist's dream. The inherent risk in blithely trekking through these pristine hills is more than most should undertake. Let me take a moment to tell you about the land itself, rolling hills, greenery, and sun. The whole area feels like a succession of hills and valleys, each with its own ecosystem. While that declaration is a tad extreme, it can almost be said to be true. The combination of sun, geographical location, proximity to fresh water, valley depth, and the existence of hot springs have given the living lands a wide breadth of flora and fauna. Walk down the hillside into a valley and you will find lush, verdant hills. Climb the next rise and you might see nothing but rock and boiling mineral springs. And the creatures, in my travels I've seen it all, and this place never ceases to amaze me. Trolls. I will never forget my encounter with the trolls of the living lands. I had just narrowly avoided being consumed by a giant plant, more on that later, and was running as fast as I could to get away from it. I broke the crest of the hill, and the valley below was wide, green, wet, and covered with low, thick branched trees. Vines grew everywhere. Between the trees, across the tops of them, down to the ground, it was a mess of vine and green. Cautiously, I worked my way down toward the basin, keeping an eye out for anything suspicious, and it's a good thing I did so. I noticed not all the trees appeared to be trees. I froze, dropping to the ground in an effort to minimize my appearance. One of the trees moved, lumbering slowly away from the cluster. It's then that I realized it was a troll, stepping out from among the group of trees it had been resting against. With a few more steps, I would have walked right into their home. The camouflage these trolls exhibited far exceed any I had ever seen before. I hope to return again in the future and observe them more. Insects. While I have never seen them, I have read reports of giant insects in the living lands. Centipedes, flies, mosquitoes, and hornets, all 10 times the size you would see them elsewhere. Imagine making camp. You've just gotten everything set up. There's a nice fire going next to your shelter. Something is gently simmering in the cooking pot. You sit down, finally feeling like you can relax after a trying day. You feel it tickling at your feet, insistent and prolonged. Reaching down to brush whatever it is away, your hand comes into contact with something hard, long, and flexible, winding its way around your boot. You look down to see a centipede the size of your arm, casually making its way over your feet, toward the far side of your camp. You would get out of that camp, wouldn't you? That's exactly what my friend did when he realized he had started his fire over a centipede nest. Plants. And, lest we forget, do not let your guard down around the plants. I had discovered a wonderful collection of giant flowers. They were bright pink and grew in a circle around a central stalk. What an aroma! I lacked the words to describe how delectable it was. Sweet, fruity, and light, with just a hint of something tangy. Looking closer, I saw some berries growing on the stalk in the center of the flowers. Well, I just had to have them. So I started pushing my way through the flowers. Then the vines growing around the base of the plant began to twitch and the blooms turned toward me. It was at that moment I saw the blooms weren't actually flowers, but hinged jaws. I had been fooled by its camouflage. I quickly retreated, pushing my way back out just in time. The blooms slammed shut. If I'd still been standing there, trying in vain to reach the berries, I wouldn't be writing this book today. The Great Western Stag. One day, Aothas was sitting on a wall, watching a cat play in the sun. A crystal, hung in a nearby tree, had fragmented a sunbeam and scattered small motes of light on the ground. They danced around the cat, sliding over him as he frantically batted at them. He spun in place, following one as it rushed past him, and leaped on it, trying to pin it down. Aothas smiled, amused at the animal's tenacity. The cat landed on a spot, placing his paws over it, only to watch it flit away again. Aothas watched the cat's tail twitch and slap at the ground, annoyed that his prey could not be pinned. "Why must you tease him?" a voice said from behind him, accompanied by the crunch of sandals on gravel. "I merely bring the dawn," Aothas responded. "I don't stoke the hunter's heart. That's your responsibility, isn't it?" "True," said a second voice, "but neither do you quell it. If the hunter could not see his prey, would he still hunt?" "So philosophical, Hylia," Aothas said, and turned to greet the two gods that approached him. "Have you come to debate the parallel between sight and desire?" He gestured to the wall, inviting Hylia and Galawain to join him. They sat in silence, watching the cat who continued to hunt the sun, fruitlessly swatting at another mote, and then rolling onto his back. "I have created the ultimate prey," Aothas said, finally, breaking the silence. "It can be tracked, it can be followed, it can be seen, but it can never be caught." Galawain laughed lightly. "You don't agree, Galawain?" Aothas asked. "While it's true that your creation is elusive, it hardly can be considered the ultimate prey because it can never be caught." He paused, his brow furrowed in thought. "If that mote of light had substance, the hunter could subdue it. Otherwise it's merely a dream, truly a fruitless endeavor." All creatures spend their lives chasing fruitless endeavors, said Hylia. It is the way of mortality. Galawain laughed again. I could create a creature, a living creature of flesh and blood that could never be caught. I make your dream a reality. Now, it was Aethys' turn to laugh. You propose turning a fruitless dream into a fruitless reality. How is this any better? A life spent in the pursuit of an attainable goal far exceeds any other. But you just said no one could catch this creature. This is not attainable. Galawain smiled. Humanity has surprised us before. Indeed, it could surprise us again. I will create a great white stag, and I will set it free in the world. It will have grace, resilience, and tenacity. It will exist solely to be pursued for all its days, and it will never be caught. It will serve to inspire the hunt for generations to come. All those who wish for glory will invoke my name. All those who hear its story will ask for my blessing in finding it. Hylia shook her head and threw Galawain a bemused look. I do not believe this is possible, so I too make an offer. To the person who catches the stag, and they will catch the stag, I will bestow upon them its grace, resilience, and tenacity. Thrice blessed they will be. They will ask for my blessing on the hunt, so they can obtain my boon. Galawain and Hylia took up arguing whose name would be invoked more when the hunt was on. Aethys sighed, a small smile playing at the edges of his mouth. He stood and looked to the sky. The sun had already started to hide itself behind the mountains. The cat, long ago tired of stalking the moats, had fallen asleep beneath the tree. He turned and looked at the other gods, deep in debate, and sighed again. I merely bring the dawn, he repeated as he made his way down the path. It is up to you to see what I reveal. Nothing is lost. The search for Ukaizo. Excerpted from the collected journals of Wanamora, Wave Chaser. The Ranga's men came to collect my portion of the prize share this morning, and I had nothing to give them again. I make no money for the tribe, though I am always in my little ferry boat, Grey Gull, carving through the waves. At night I get no sleep. Waitaro asked me to conserve the lamp oil, to come to bed, but I can't, not until I find it. I know it's out there. The lost city of Ukaizo. On every chart and map of the Deathfire I found. Whether Huana, Valian, or Rawatayan, there is a gap, an empty space where so much of our history should be. Did it burn to ash and cinders in the cataclysm? Did it sink below the waves? Does Ngadi clutch it to her breast at the bottom of the sea? Perhaps it's lost and wandering, like me, unmoored, looking for a home it can't remember, but for which some insistent longing burns in its chest, so an ember always smoldering, a little fire to push it on. Waitaro wants me to give it up, but how can I? On mornings when the sky is so clear I can hardly catch my breath for the beauty of it, I think I see it out there, shimmering in the brightening blue light. Is it a taunt or a beckoning? Would I be able to tell the difference? I ask the fisherfolk when they return with their catch at sunset. Tibere, I say, did you see anything? Or you, Mavori? How about you, Puira? They avoid me now. Waitaro says they're busy, but I know they think I'm tide-sick and sun-addled. The way Puira's lips curl in disgust when I approach. The way Tibere's eyes seem to see right through me. I know. They won't have to suffer me much longer, because tomorrow I'm taking the Grey Gull and sailing north. Someone has to chase the old tales. So I will. Annals of the Pargrunen. It was in the time of Etrahil the Sure-Footed that we came to the Cliaban Rilag, an ancient place of the builders, as the locals call them. It was a marvelous sight, a door in the mountain framed by a pair of ghoulish aspects. Through some exercise of trickery or cunning, Etrahil was able to gain access for our scholars, that we might observe and record what lay inside. We discovered a foundry of sorts, the like of which neither we nor our distant brethren had seen. Through careful observation we surmised that the ancients had used this place to extract souls and transfer them to suits of armor, delicate and challenging work. Yet the scale they had achieved left us humbled and astounded. Perhaps most remarkable were the golems, living suits of armor powered by essence. We lost 2 of our fellows when the creatures caught us unawares, but once we'd subdued them, they proved quite fascinating. Also aware that our hosts would never again allow us, nor other curious travelers, to visit this place, we took meticulous notes and measurements of all we saw, forsaking bread and sleep until the work was done. We reported all to Etrahil, whereupon he praised our work, and urged us quickly forward. For if such a place lay abandoned in the forest, who can say what other mysteries gods and kith have left in this strange and wild land? A History of the Living Lands 3, Glossolalia. In the ruins of Ukaizo, the great city of the ancient Quana in the Deathfire, I once found a curious inscription. The inscription was written in 3 languages and arranged in a circle around a small pool of water. 2 of the languages were unknown to me. The first of these scripts was largely runic, rounded and orderly, and looked like it was meant to be painted rather than chiseled into stone. It put me to mind of the architecture of Engwith, with its frequent arches and odd conjunctions of angles. The other language branched off one long stem. This one was curious. At first I thought I was meant to read it left to right, but the characters' shapes didn't have a flow that felt intentional. It wasn't until I tilted my head that I understood I was attempting to read it on its side, that I was instead meant to read it from top to bottom, and likely right to left. Fascinating. I have seen nothing like it in all Eora. The third of the scripts I recognized. It was near ancient Quana, a language I'd studied idly in my youth. I had been obsessed with its more yogographic predecessor, far ancient Quana, for many years. What a pleasure at last to see something I knew. After a few hours of meditation, I recall enough of the alphabet to take a stab at a transcription. Kawingawi o Waturi, Te Kaatau, Niki Pi, Nui o Ukaizo, Nikingi o Kingi, Kane o Anao Anoa, A Ngati Kua, Ite Ene Heno Ke Aki Katinga. Wingauro o Waturi, King of Ukaizo, the King of Kings. It has the cadence of a dedication. Could this last inscription be the key to deciphering the 2 other unknown languages? On the fire-forged path, the travels of Yarek Ulten. The book is well worn and smells faintly of mildew. Its spine is cracked, and as you thumb through the book's pages, it falls open to a folio more ragged and dog-eared than the others. Though I was born and raised a Macronite, and a Macronite now I will stay, as a young man I undertook a pilgrimage to visit a holy house dedicated to every god. In so doing, I hope to know them each the better, to take what they had to teach me, and sow it into my soul like so many seeds, that my soul might grow and bear only the most delectable fruit from my goddess, to devour at the moment of my death. So it is with no small amount of amusement that I penned this account of my visit once to a church of Whale, the many-eyed and many-tongued god of dreams and secrets, revelations and mysteries, and revealed to you all I learned there. The challenge came first in finding adherents to Whale's doctrine, for they are not often ones to announce their presence, preferring instead to build their flock from the solitary seekers who delve through ancient ruins and ruined archives in search of the strange, the bizarre, the forgotten. But persistence is my goddess's first teaching, and find them I did. The Whalites' Neketaken congregation was small then, as it likely remains now, and on the morning I stumbled upon them. They were lounging like so many cats in the sun on the steps above Queen's Berth, sharing between them a bottle of arak, and pipes packed with white leaf and ribbled sponge. I knew them for Whalites, not for any badge or rope or trinket they wore, not for their race or age, but for the ardor of their debate on the most benign of topics. I begged that they take me to their church and permit me to worship with them, and they laughed as one. Their many voices like the howling of wild dogs. They acquiesced when I told them of my quest, and then invited me to sit and share their drink. I did, and as the arak burned a trail of fire down my throat, they showed me the dimensions of their hall of worship. The stairs were their pews, they said, the blue sky their ceiling, and the walls the edges of the world. All of creation sits within its bounds. As morning neared midday, they stood as one and began to climb the mountain. "Where do you go now?" I asked. "To worship," they replied. A great wave of relief washed over me, for at last I would have my lesson from them. We climbed the many steps of Neketaka, and arrived at last in the sacred stair. "Where is your temple?" I asked, and in response they whooped like children, rushing past me in a squall of smoke and laughter. I followed as best I could, though I wet my good slippers in a stream and could hardly keep my feet on the moss-slick stones, and we surged, soggy-footed and hollering, into the temple of Gon. To worship, they cried. We shoved past dawn stars spent in praise of their macabre god, laughing all the while, and came to stand before a leafless tree, whose boughs were hung in lanterns too numerous to count. I had nary a moment to catch my breath before the waylights were clambering into the great tree's branches. A young man pulled me up with one hand and handed me a pipe with the other. The priests of Gon screeched and wailed, and all the while we squawked like birds, our smiles wide and eyes alight with arak and lantern fire. The Mataru came soon after to chase us away, but not before we'd done our share of singing to the many-eyed, many-tongued god of dreams. Would that I could have stayed with them a while longer, but alas, I could not deny my soul its journey, nor the whispers of my goddess in my ear. I took again to the road in search of churches, but I must admit, ever after, I longed always after for that tree. The collected annals of Lengrath. Whomever copied this work appears to have been in a great hurry, as if they feared being caught. The gods strip us of who we are on every turn about the wheel, mercilessly shaving off all we've learned with their divine lathe. We retain the pale shadows of our souls, but knowledge, memory, self, all of it is cut away. Do the gods fear we might someday rival their strength, if they do not? The trees of Ir Glanfath possess souls as strong as any kith, and their entangled roots extend for miles. But dig beneath any of them, follow those roots, and you'll see they don't end, but lead to a neighbor. There are many souls sharing one body. Why shouldn't willing kith be able to do the same? A limb may be grafted from one tree to the trunk of another, and in time they'll bear sweeter fruit together than either might have alone. Mightn't it be possible, then, to graft a scion soul to the rootstock of a willing kith? The souls wouldn't fracture, but coalesce. They'd grow stronger together. The gods see fractured souls, but they don't care for them. Damaged, broken people are abandoned by their makers to twist in the wind, given no succor, no relief. Would an intentionally fractured soul be similarly inconsequential to them? I will use their apathy against them. I will make their disdain serve me. A grafted soul is obscured from the sight of the gods. It spreads freely like a blood fever, but doesn't kill its host. No, I will be a fever of the spirit, invisible, unstoppable, eternal.
Ready, aim.
The life and discovery of Pangram. Mention the name Pangram to anyone with even a passing knowledge of animancy, and you could find yourself in for a very long discussion. Publicly reviled but privately lauded as a hero and genius, Pangram's history is at turns revolutionary, horrific, and mysterious. Pangram was fascinated, some might say obsessed, with the concept of animancy. It consumed his life as he dedicated everything to understand it. He would frequently travel to Ir Glanfath and the Deerwood to visit the Angwithan ruins. There he would take notes and make sketches, bringing anything back with him that he could to help him unlock the mysteries. After years of study, Pangram had reached the point where he could no longer conduct research on his own, and he took on an assistant, Helig of the Thane. Soon, Helig was making trips to Ir Glanfath in Pangram's stead, gathering knowledge while Pangram stayed behind to experiment. This partnership quickly bore fruit, and Pangram made a breakthrough. one that would irrevocably change his life and the general attitude about animancy forever. While the specifics of his experimentation will never truly be known, the rumors and stories that still circulate tell that he had sent out inquiries, asking for live subjects for help with a dangerous experiment that might change their life, or might end it. Those who were already dying were especially encouraged to apply. Response was overwhelming, and Pangram had his pick of numerous willing bodies. That is when he had his breakthrough. He discovered a way to fix a soul, anchoring it to its body so it couldn't leave at death. He had discovered eternal life. His research and life's work had resulted in the greatest single discovery that animancy could hope for. His findings were published and quickly spread through Valia and beyond, while in some groups, the Vatican Church, for example, decried his work as nothing more than blasphemy and heresy. Many put it to practice. Everyone wanted the chance at immortality. But everything comes with a cost. It quickly became apparent that simply restraining the soul while keeping the person technically alive was doing nothing for the body, which continued to decay, devolving and warping the soul now trapped inside it. The creatures it created were dangerous, carnivorous beasts that killed brutally and indiscriminately. The backlash was ruthless. The practice of Pangram's discovery was outlawed. His works were collected and burned. He and Hillick were branded heretics and hunted, chased from town to town until Pangram simply vanished. Hillick was tracked down, captured, and brought to trial for the atrocities committed against Valia and its people. The trial was barely more than a formality to bring charges against him, as everyone knew what hand he had played in the disaster. He was sent to prison for years, but eventually released once public outrage died down. Not long after his parole, he disappeared as well. Occasionally, talk surfaces that a copy of Pangram's theorems has been found, untouched by the purging flames that destroyed its brothers. These rumors seldom end up being more than that. Many groups and wealthy individuals have formed, sending out a call to anyone who will listen. Find us a copy of the theorems. They offer gold, jewels, status, anything they can to entice adventurers to help them achieve their goals. For there are those who would give anything for a chance at immortality, even become a monster. The Deerwood Part 5. The Proliferation of Animancy. Animancy, outlawed while under Adur rule, was technically no longer taboo after Hadred's rebellion. Academics began its study again in earnest in 2681 AI. By 2697 AI, there were almost 40 academics actively researching the field, both in the Deerwood and the Valian republics, even though no significant results had been discovered. A tragic breakthrough of sorts happened in 2704 AI. An animancer working in Balereach accidentally shattered the souls of about a dozen volunteers who had been helping him. In retaliation for the deaths, the citizens of the area stormed his house and killed him. The Earl of the region, not wanting to waste resources or anger the locals any more than they already were, did nothing to find the head of the vigilante mob, but neither did he outlaw animancy. To ensure their own safety, most animancers moved from the rural areas where they were studying and settled in Defiance Bay, many of them choosing the emerging and wealthy district of Brackenberry as their new home of operations. While there were still a few breakthroughs and the study of animancy continued for the next 24 years, it quickly slowed as it became cost prohibitive and complicated the more people learned about it. Most animancers couldn't afford to continue research without the support of donations or gifts from wealthy individuals and organizations. In 2737 AI, some animancers, desperate to continue their studies and seeing no other means of furthering their research, entered the forbidden ruins of Irglanfath to further their research. They discovered some such sites had strange... This reads terribly. Shouldn't be. They discovered that some sites had strange artifacts that seemed to bear affinity to soul essence, and began to prod at the devices for further essence. Even with continued research, they were unable to tell quite what they had discovered. Eventually, they were found out by the Glenfathans, who captured some of them, demanding they should be punished for their crimes. The Dirwooden authorities, in order to maintain their treaties and keep the peace, had no choice. They allowed the Animancers to be executed according to Glenfathan tradition. This led the Duke to make an additional proclamation. The study and practice of animancy on or even near the sacred Glenfathan sites would be punishable by death. In 2780 AI, in order to solidify relations again with the Glenfathans, the Dirwooden government allowed some Animancers to begin training and experiments in conjunction with the Glenfathan Mindhunters, their native ciphers. This was an exchange of information. The Animancers documented the secrets of the Mindhunters' powers. The Mindhunters learned new techniques for concentration, which assisted them in taking their powers to a level no Glenfathan had seen before. The ciphers, no longer wary of the Animancers' intentions, trusted them to such a level that they convinced the Glenfathans to give some Animancers limited access to some of the training sites where the Glenfathans practiced. The Animfaths of the Glenfathan tribes opened the training grounds to the Animancers. They were not allowed inside, as this was still strictly forbidden, but the general allowances by the Glenfathans were seen as a breakthrough in relations between the Dirwood and Ir Glenfath. Over the next 8 years, the Animancers' research would continue unimpeded. With the exception of some minor squabbles, there has been no major strife between the two groups for almost 120 years since. Statue schematic. This drawing details plans for the creation of a large statue powered by essence. The essence is intended to be injected into the statue by an array, of animantic devices. Where such a vast store of essence might come from, and what a statue could do with it, is unclear.
Aye, aye. Stand back.
Nope. God damn it.
Coming in hot. Here it comes.
Alright, well.
Coming in hot. Ready, aim. Stand back.
Well, there doesn't seem to be anything else here to protect almost everything.
"6 years in Palm Shore, and I never knew something this big was under our feet the whole time."
purification of the pilgrim. I hoped that in coming to this place, standing before the splinter and turning my mind to prayer, that I would feel something, that I would experience the solace the other godlike speak of, the state that they all call grace. But my dreams remain as silent as this eerie, godless tomb. And I am ashamed to feel so lonesome and bereft. To truly love the gods is to be faithful to the void. That is what the oracle tells me. If I look outside of myself to the here and now, for that which I desire, that I will always remain unsatisfied. I must go down into myself, into the still, wide emptiness, to discover that I already have everything I need. The many voices of wail I wish would whisper in my ear, even had I heard them, they would not be evidence of their love. That evidence persists already in my soul, in the void to which I have not been true. And it has from the moment they plucked my soul from the wheel and gave it unto my body to be born. It is the chime. The chime is the evidence of their love, and if it is all that I ever have of them, then I should fall to my knees in gratitude, for it is more than most kith will get. But to know this solace that I seek, then I must give up any desire for their love, and learn to love the Lord.
We make a good squad. Dream Scourge ahead. I hate to think it reaches all the way down here.
Thorns beside violets, essence twisted out of shape. Repose, a pulse beating out of time. Should it be disturbed?
Consecration Prayer. With this leaving of his precious body, we commemorate our most glorious God with all his saints. Let us commend ourselves and one another, and our whole life to Eothas, the Dawn Treader. For this holy house, and for those who enter it with faith, reverence, and the fear of our God, we consecrate this temple in his name. Eothas, have mercy on our souls.
If it weren't for the creepy oracle and the invading roots, this place would be kinda nice.
Nice. I must have missed that.
There's the relic. Can't be. Let's see if that opens. Right behind you. No one said anything about tight spaces.
History of the Living Lands 4, redacted. Every page of this book has been painted black, except for the very last, which features a large drawing of an unusually ornate key, and a note written in the runes of an unknown language. Beneath them, someone has scribbled, "How do their agents keep finding my work? They've already defaced 3 versions of this volume alone. I don't know what they find so objectionable about my theorems and the meaning of the godless language, but I'm done rewriting it. You bastards win. No more." The note above has been amended by a more measured hand, likely some time after the first note was written. I've compared my notes regarding the inscription from Ukaizo with the script on the intact clay tablet in my lab, and realized they share several shapes in common. I may be able to make some headway in translating this if I can find an expert in the godless. Another amendment follows, but that too has been mostly blacked out. Near the end of the redaction, the paint suddenly runs off the edge of the page, and a splash of blood stains the margins. All you can make out is a pair of shaky sentences circled several times. Yes. Could that mean God? Let's eat something. We'll eat rabbit bits. And marry Crudian.
False ID. It waits.
Something's moving in the main chamber.
be all of them, right?
Nice job, everyone.
Let's see, where's the great sword? +1. This. Deconstruct that. Right, we're over 3,000 now.
Oh, fui too. Way out must have flooded during that earthquake. Blasted ruins.
Well, better a flood than a cave-in.
God damn it. Stupid branch. Oh yeah. God damn it. This is so stupid. So
Something's not right here. Take a look around.
On the Binding of Souls. The margins of this text are scribbled with notes and references. The ink-stained pages appear to have seen much use in earlier times. The removal and transferences of souls is a practice both ancient and sophisticated. There is evidence that the Ingwithans were particularly adept at this, yet few details have survived them. Someone scrawled Annals of the Pargrunin, PB 382-6 below this paragraph. What is known is that the removal of a soul is a difficult process, and one that requires an expert hand and precise tools for any chance of success. Early attempts on a test pool of 138 goats left most of the subjects with maimed or fractured souls. In all but 2 of the 11 instances where the soul was successfully removed, the essence dissipated before scholars could capture it. The words transferred to holding vessel are written and underlined in the margin. The process requires conductive materials, copper and atra specifically. Immersion in water is important to ensure that the soul is withdrawn in a steady and uniform manner, with no distortions or breakages. A warped soul is at best useless and at worst unpredictable. An arrow points from this paragraph to a scrunched note. Extraction pool in CR 18 feet wide by 3 feet deep. We have since mastered the process of soul transference, and have seen the benefits of infusing forged work with the essence of animals in wilder, or wilder. What remains to be seen is whether we might see greater gains from using the souls of kith, where we would procure the appropriate subjects, and how much personality and autonomy we would want to leave intact in such cases. A string of notes winds around and below this paragraph, beginning with criminals, prisoners of war, volunteers, and ending with forged guardians in block letters. These notes are crossed out, and below them is written, "But what of the divine soul?" Yeda's Journal. 3rd Préautomne, 2830. New orders came down from Daren today. We are to be sent to the Living Lands. The Diplomatic Corps has established an embassy in the port city of Paradis, and they need support cataloging the unusual ruins there. No doubt it will take months, perhaps a year or 2 at the very least. I had promised Rudwin I'd be in High Crown to celebrate Inestu with him and the children, especially since it'll be Miri's coming of age, but how often are you given the opportunity to lay the foundation of study for a previously undiscovered ancient culture? I'm sure he'll understand. And Miri, well, I think my daughter will be glad I'm gone. It's not like the gods are making new continents. The world is getting smaller every day. 17th Préhiverno, 2830. It always seems as though the moment I finally get my sea legs, we're pulling into harbor. And a charming harbor it is, despite what Daren told me. And not nearly so dangerous as the clerks in High Crown warned. I swear on the Queen, half my countrymen resent any city that isn't the Emperor's purely on principle. There was a letter waiting for me when I arrived at the embassy. I suppose Rudwin sent it before I left. The cowards filed for dissolution of our marriage, but he couldn't muster the stones to tell me to my face. Let him assume it never arrived, for I certainly won't dignify it with a reply. This whole episode has given me a blinding headache, a horrible pinching sensation right behind the eyes. 21st Préhiverno, 2830. We've had a few days to settle into life at the embassy while the powers that be argue about how best to make use of us. While I was resting, the ambassador's clerk took the scouts to some dreadful little swill house in a rough part of town. Naturally, a couple of the younger lads poisoned themselves with alcohol. The mother in me wants to be furious, but I can hardly muster the energy. As long as Offrig's voiding his stomach in the canals and instead of the bunkhouse, it's not my business after all. I think I'll take the team to Fort Northreach, see if we can't help their archivist identify the purpose of the godless ruins there. 1st Tadiverno, 2831. Blessed New Year! The team acquitted themselves well at the fort. With Caveman's help, I was able to get down into the basement of the ruins there and take a good look at the construction. Naturally, I left the notes I took at the fort. I feel like I can hardly even think these days, but I believe I remember enough of what I learned to write a satisfactory report for the ambassador. Could those ruins have been the site of a fertility temple? I mean, goodness, look at the shape of their buildings. The steel garrote inquisitor attached to the embassy has uncovered rumor of a holy relic in a cave here in Dawnshore, and she suggested we might want to investigate. I know I should be eager to get down there, to explore, but I've hardly been able to get out of my bedroll since we've returned to Paradis. I'll bet there's a cursed tablet with my name on it that Rudwin's installed in the Temple of Skane back in High Crown. Nothing else could explain the hideous nightmares I've been having. Mushrooms erupting from my skin, my eyes are replaced by quivering stalks. Miri turning into a tree, Rootwind splitting in half and opening like a flower. No matter what drug I take or to which god I pray, they refuse to go away. 6th Preprima, 2831. I collapsed while we were gearing up in the market, and none of the merchants would help me off the ground. One of them muttered something about a soul plague and ran off to tell his mates. I tried to tell the man I wasn't sick, just going through a divorce, but I couldn't speak. It was like my tongue had turned to mud. The Inquisitor pulled me aside when the boys got me back to the embassy. She was able to press the locals for more about the relic. Apparently it was taken from Aerthas' Titan skeleton, the very one I made my reputation discovering, and it's well known for its ability to heal anyone who holds it. I cannot delay any longer. I must find it.
Well, we found the expedition. Looks like they've only been dead a few hours. But how did they get in here?
They didn't come the same way we did. I'll remind you we had to swim here. And look, there's no way these people died of natural causes. Murder usually leaves a mark.
It's like every member of the expedition team just collapsed.
The plans in the Oracle's workshop were too complicated to be for a simple statue.
You think he's building a what? Giant animat?
Do I even want to know what an animat is?
An animancer could explain it better, but they're basically suits of armor brought to life by bound souls.
Right. I knew I didn't want to know.
The Oracle couldn't have put the expedition's souls in the statue of Aethys, right?
Could the Oracle's plan have something to do with Aerthas' banishing at Ukaizo?
There's still a lot of debate over what even happened at Ukaizo. Perhaps the Oracle knows the truth, or perhaps he's just as lost as we are. Aethys is a dangerous god associated with Eora's bloodiest wars, and he recently killed thousands of people in Deadfire. Now we have a piece of him, and we're about to face a maniac who wants it desperately. Tread carefully.
Why has he come here? Why does he build the idol in this place? Even the flood could not stop him. Fealty or sickness?
I don't know what this guy's capable of, but I've got your back.
Thank you.
There you are. I worried for you when the earth shook.
Lies like wasps.
You have been gone some time. Do you carry the splinter of Aethys?
I found the bodies of the expedition team in your workshop. Did you kill them?
Ah, I did not expect you to be so thorough in your explorations. Nevertheless, I am impressed. As to whether I killed them, well, that is a matter of semantics. Does death occur the moment the heart ceases beating, or when the soul is broken upon the wheel? In one sense, then they are quite dead. In another, they remain very much alive. In either case, they have entered a state of change, and the impetus was mine.
You're going to put their souls in your statue, aren't you?
Yes! You and you alone see my purpose clearly. You see, I have given them the opportunity to be part of something larger than themselves. With your help, I shall give them a new commission. To prosecute the redemption of a god.
By making them prisoners.
By making them jailers.
I've heard enough.
If it must come to this, so be it.
Now, or...
Hear us. Follow us. We would speak to you.
Nothing like a win with a good team.
We sense weight on you. Essence. Yes. We know this melody. A part of the statue, a piece that yearns for its true place. Combine them. Join soul into body. Let it sing for us.
Why do you want to finish this statue?
It dreams in colors we have never seen. Would we use it? We cannot know. It must be complete.
I'd rather keep looking around.
Dear Rose, where does it stop? We do not control its feet. But hurry. The roots twist. The earth heaves underneath the stone. The eaves cannot hold.
Hey, Envoy. Back with us?
Yeah. I do not feel comfortable finishing that thing. Given the human sacrifice and everything. What happens though if we...
Thoughtless. For destruction's sake. chaos gone to waste.
You know, those souls deserve better.
The Oracle might have been a creepy, murdering Korba, but he sure kept a nice home.
Guess his work on that statue didn't leave much time for renovations.
A very good farmer. The spine of this book bears a stamp designating it as part of the restricted collection of the Halls Obscured. It appears to have been stolen. Every page is filled with closely packed writing and illustrations. One passage reads, Saint Waidwin pursed his lips and stared down at the glowering visage, which peered at him between stalks of orlis. He gripped the wooden shaft of his scythe, slick with sweat from his palms, the hands of a working man, which he was. Then you're Aethys, then, he said. That I am, said the god. Then you already know what I want, said the farmer, who was Waidwin. That I do. Waidwin unknotted the taut cord, which restrained his ponytail, and let the flowering locks cascade around his shoulders and rest over the shelf of his bosom. He winked and cleared his throat before winking again. I've got a candle, hasn't been lit properly. Aethys moved closer and... The passage cuts off abruptly with a series of jagged notes pressed deeply into the parchment. Eora is not ready for this. Saint Waidwin, farmer become god. With the mention of the name Waidwin, most folk think of only one word, Godhammer. While this event echoes through the ages and is still felt years after the destruction of Evan-Dewar Bridge, Waidwin's humble beginnings belie the powerful force he would grow into. Waidwin lived an unassuming life in a remote area of Rhaed Seras, the son of warless farmers. He toiled in the fields alongside his father for 22 years until his father's death. The farm then fell to him to run. He considered selling, but had no other skills upon which to draw, so he set on the path of warless farmer as well. Nothing of note was recorded in Waidwin's life until 4 years after his father's death. One day, while working the fields, Waidwin's life was irrevocably changed. In his words, night was falling. The fingers of dusk already gripping the sky. The sun had dipped behind the world's edge and stars were peeking from beyond the shroud. The day was still and darkness had blanketed the field. I placed my last harvest of the day into the collection pile, when from behind me arose a brilliant light. I turned, fear in my breast, knowing not what could have caused such intense radiance. Behind me stood a blazing figure, resplendent in glory. Its white flesh glowed with a luminescent radiance, its head a blinding ball of light, brighter than the highest sun of mid-year. I averted my gaze, afraid I would be struck down for daring to gaze upon such a creature. A sudden peace washed over me, sweeping away my fear, leaving my troubled soul tranquil. A loving warmth wrapped its arms around me. A voice spoke to me as I stood, transfixed, trying to both see this glorious being and avoid its dazzling scrutiny. Fear not, it said to me, for you are chosen above all others. You will be the light to bring about the rebirth of an empire. It then held out its hand and bestowed upon me a vision of power such that I could scarcely contain it. Waidwin, disheveled and dirty, stumbled into his village the next morning, telling all who would listen about the miracle that happened in his fields. Aethys himself, he claimed, had appeared to him. He was to punish the Adoran governor for leading his people into ruin. A way would be provided, and those faithful who helped would be blessed when the divinity manifested. Villagers ignored him, convinced the loss of his parents had broken his mind. But Waidwin continued to preach of the power of Aethys and the corruption of the governor, eventually earning him the ire of the locals. His confrontations with the villagers hit a turning point one day in mid-autumn. A crowd had gathered around Waidwin, jeering him and telling him to leave the village. The worldless crop that season was particularly light, and the villagers blamed Waidwin, saying he had angered the gods, particularly Aethys, with his blasphemy. They backed him into one of the withered fields, yelling at him to go. Accounts of the inciting action are hazy. Some say a stone was thrown. Others say he was pushed. Others still say he simply tripped over a dry root sticking from the ground. Regardless of the cost, Waidwin landed face down on the ground, the villagers standing over him, laughing. "Enough!" A voice, not Waidwin's, boomed across the field. Waidwin looked up at the crowd, his eyes glowing with a blinding white light. He stood, but did not stand. One moment he was on the ground, and the next he was standing before the crowd, who cowered before him. "You dare deny me?" The voice spoke through Waidwin's mouth. "You dare refuse my servant?" Waidwin's arms raised, beginning to luminesce. "You dare require proof?" His arms went out to his sides. "Never ask again, lest you be burned in the light of the new dawn." There was a flash of light from Waidwin's eyes and hands, and the entire field sprang to life. The once dried and brittle plants became full, lush, and verdant. The crowd was silent. From somewhere in the back came a call of "Praise Aethys!" and then they all fell to their knees. In front of Waidwin, farmer turned god. Incomplete lecture. How do I live if there is no consolation? When he left the world, I was emptied of divinity. I am a slave now to desire for it. I am unmoored from space and time. I am a body persisting until it is gone. Nothing. Is that what he wanted me to become?
Never thought I'd be so relieved to see Paradise.
Well, that was certainly an experience of some kind. Let's go catch up with our freak.
I think we'll camp here, call it a day. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll join me for the next one, where we wrap up some of the remaining side quests and stuff, some of the bounties we still have missing here. Until then, please do take care, be safe, and enjoy life. Good night, and good luck. Bye-bye.